Hello, hello, welcome back. So, what are we talking about today? Well, sickness in the body. How about that? Sickness in the body. What is sickness? What's the purpose of the body? Yeah, those things. They're things that in the course of ordinary life, we don't really often pause to contemplate, do we? So, I very much appreciate your taking time out for yourself and for everything that lives, starting with yourself. We each appear to be doing this course individually. We're the ones that choose in the present moment love over fear, or we could choose the opposite. And we're talking about healing as the release from fear. That's the title of this section of the text here. It's in chapter 2 of the text of A Course in Miracles. This is part 4 here. And we're talking about paragraphs 2 and 3, where we'll talk about the definition of sickness and quite a bit about the physical body. So, what's the definition of sickness? Well, it's not a cold. It's not a new pair of jeans that you bought because your old one had holes and you went outside in the wintertime and the wind and the snow and the rain and the cold temperatures bothered you and made you uncomfortable. Sickness is not right-mindedness. It's not right-mindedness. That's the definition of sickness. And as you might expect, this is A Course in Miracles that we're talking about. So you might expect the emphasis to be placed on the mind. That's where this course is done. That's where healing is needed, on the level of the mind. The mind. The mind is the cause. The apparently outside world is the effect. Another way of looking at this that's very handy is that this is a course that emphasizes content, not form. It's the same thing as cause and effect. Content in the mind, not form. The physical body, the paintings behind me, what appear to be other people, dogs, cats, birds, you name it. The sickness is not right-mindedness. And what we discover here, and we're told point blank, that only the mind is capable of error. The physical body cannot make an error. It does what the mind tells it to do. This is really important, and it's not seen that way commonly in the world, is it? The mind does the controlling. The physical body does what the mind tells it to do. Mind is in charge here. The physical body follows that. We're not so instructed in our high school biology textbooks. Well, at least I wasn't. I received the same indoctrination. Can we call it that? Let's do conditioning. Conditioning is the broader word. Yeah, you can see it as an indoctrination. It's not just school. It's not just your parents. It's the societies that we live in. No matter where you're from in the world, we're taught that at our core, fundamentally at our core, we're this thing that goes by the name of Homo sapiens sapiens, with the second sapiens to distinguish us from Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, because we're not Neanderthals, right? Anatomically modern, for whatever that means. We think we're independent, self-sustaining survival units called human beings running around, and we identify with certain genders, man, woman, non-binary, whatever. We identify as members of different political parties or religious or civic organizations, as tall, short, blonde, brunette, nearly bald, whatever. We label and classify and divide and subdivide, and we make judgments one after another based on those classifications and subdivisions. And we call it reality. Yet deep in our hearts, deep in our mind, deep down inside somewhere, we know it's not true. We continue to be drawn to the truth. That's your inner teacher. That's who's speaking to you right now, not this projected image on your screen of a 51-year-old man in suburban Phoenix, Arizona, where it's really sunny right now, by the way. That's not who's speaking to you in these messages. It's your inner teacher that's spurring you on to explore your spiritual practice, to ask the deeper questions. Who am I? Because I think you know, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. Here in paragraph 2, we're shown, told, and perhaps this deep down resonates and speaks to you. The body cannot create. It simply does what the mind tells it to do. And the belief that it's in charge and not the mind produces all physical symptoms. It's the mind that actually makes the body sick. Now, you may have been born with certain physical ailments or a chronic condition. You may have developed a chronic condition such as cancer or something else, right? Healing, which takes place at the level of the mind, may or may not cure a physical ailment. What we have complete control over is how we experience our lives. We don't necessarily have control over what happens in our lifetimes, do we? If you were born with a certain physical condition or what people call a disability or something like that, right? There's nothing you can really do about that. On the level of form, you may or may not heal that, but what you can heal is your mind. We all have the ability to heal our minds, which may or may not produce changes in the physical form. Now, often it does, but that's not a guarantee, and it's not the point. This course does not aim to impact the physical form at all. The body simply does the mind's bidding, so we're invited to change our mind. And you experience things very differently in the world when you heal, when you extend the miracle to the Son of God, and when you accept atonement for yourself. What happens is that matter has no creative ability. That's 80% water, this thing. It doesn't have creative ability. Mind has creative ability. Spirit has already been created. This is who we are, one with God. And mind is what creates. The body is a learning device for the mind. This is one way that we could choose to see it, and it's the way that's taught us in this course. The body is a learning device. It's a communication device. This image, this projected image that you see on your screen is nothing more than a communication device being used by your inner teacher to reach you. What I say as Reverend Tomas Garza, I don't really know what I'm going to say every time I turn this on. And it's completely unknown to me what I say in a given video that has a tremendous impact on you, which turns out to be why you turned it on and watched it. I don't know what that is. My calling, my job is to show up, turn on the camera and microphone, and teach this course. Being a global platform, I don't know who may be watching. And I certainly don't know what I'm going to say that's going to change the trajectory of your life and your spiritual practice. So I show up and I say it. Your particular calling can look quite different. Not everybody has to do what you see a person on YouTube or television or podcasts doing. Not everyone has to turn on a camera and microphone. This is my particular calling. Yours could be quite different. And get in touch with your inner teacher and ask your inner teacher what you should do in every situation. This is what the Course invites us to do. It's what it instructs us to do. The body is a communication device. It's merely part of our experience here in the physical world. Now, here in the physical world on the level of form, yeah, here it is, right? Here it is. And on the level of form, where we appear to be, there are many things that are very helpful about this thing that ultimately doesn't exist. On the level of form, it does, right? Here we all are, and we appear to be separate. Here is where it's needed. Your healing and forgiveness is where it's needed, right? You show up at your most loving, your most forgiving, your most joyful, at your best in a given moment. In other words, to reach your brother. Your brother needs a form that he or she, right, can recognize. People need a form that they can recognize without fear. And it can be you, it can be your neighbor, it could be somebody else. In this case, it's a middle-aged, almost bald man in Arizona. Surprise, Arizona, to be exact. A suburb of Phoenix where it's nice and hot and sunny. So we use the physical body to communicate with others, with our brother. This is what I mean by our brother. There's only one of us. So that's the language that we're using here. It's a communication device, a learning device for the mind. So while we all appear to be here, if you choose to take good care of this communication device, great, right? All the better. Yeah. Remember that the purpose of our being here is to forgive. This is a forgiveness opportunity. It's a learning opportunity. The body is a learning device for the mind. So we are invited to use it as such, as a learning device, a communication device, mechanism. Ultimately, Of course, we're not a body. We are spirit. That is our reality. But as we can see, just from a casual glance around ourselves here in the world, not everyone is ready to accept this right away. And perhaps you are not either. And to the extent that you are, ask your inner teacher for guidance and help. And if you're not, no problem. That's actually what time is for. These ideas aim to change our perception completely, 180 degrees. The switch from the ego to the Holy Spirit in terms of a thought system is 180 degrees. They're incompatible with each other. And of the two, one's real, one's not. We're invited to choose the real thought system. All right. Thank you, as always, for joining me here. Here's the subscription button. That's the red arrow. And any comments or questions that you may have, I'm more than happy to entertain those right here. So thank you, as always, for joining me. I will see you very soon.